What's up, VC? How you living there? So this time last year, I was in a different place. I was in a wheelchair, in recovery. I wasn't even home yet with my vinyl records, so I didn't even get to participate in Vinyl Tag 2022. So it's a new year, new life. I'm feeling better. I'm reunited with my records, so I figured let's have it. Let's have at it. This was my introduction into the vinyl community some years ago, and I'd encourage you that if you're thinking about starting to make videos, then you should do so now. Or if it's been some time, use Vinyl Tag as an excuse to get in the mix. It's a great way to rub elbows and get to know people in the vinyl community. So happy to be doing this. This used to be Andrew Tales from the Crates endeavor, and now Rob Walker's taking over the helm. So I'm here. Let's do this. So what's in the background? The Eric Broughton Band, Wassup, debut, kind of gritty blues, psychedelic, acid-soaked rock. I won't be doing too much of this. There might be some glare with some of these shrinkies and what have you. But as to be quick and efficient, I don't know how much of trying to avoid glare and show records. I don't know how much of that I'm going to be doing. Because it's 20 questions. I got a gang of records, and I've been known to ramble. So that's the spin in the background, straight into it. Question number 1. And you'll see me consult this cheat sheet I have here, because who's going to remember these 20 questions? Favorite new release of 2022. Now, I went through this strictly cosmetically was my approach. So King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, laminated denim. I think there was a pre-order on this through their website. There might have been several hundred or less. But I think the total production for this was like 1,500 or 2,000, and they were being distributed through their live shows. So when I saw them in Asheville recently, it was pretty cool. I snagged this. And my family, we come from a long line of quilters and sewers. So this kind of like recycled denim, embroidered outer sleeve, I've never seen anything like that. I thought it was pretty cool. So laminated denim by King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard is my pick for favorite new release of 2022. And I'm going to segue that into last band or artist you saw live by happenstance is also King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. And honestly, if I wanted to be silly, just for shits and tickles, it'd be really easy for me to do all King Gizzard showings on this, or pretty close to it. But this is the last band I saw, and I was at this live concert. This is Asheville 2019. It was a great show, box set. This is really well put together on the Fuzz Club. I don't want to get too into that as to waste time, but this was the last band I saw live. Slightly ruined by a buddy of mine who got really drunk at the show. But the vinyl community is a community. I've yet to be able to travel and not stumble into friends. I've met multitude of people in the vinyl community, but my buddy Steve from Grown Man Record Night happened to be in town and picked me up, gave me a ride to the hotel, and it was a really fond memory. So shout out to Steve on that. Great experience with that. And at some point, I need to get around to showing my Asheville digs. I've been making some videos recently, but I am behind on showing a lot of records, especially some heaters I've acquired, but who knows, those might end up on my Instagram page because I've gone down that wormhole because why not? The next question being question number 3. Or 3 if you're in Europe. I don't know where in the world you are, but question number 3. Their first was their best. Now I pulled this record to have it for a question down the line. But I thought I'd use this because, I think a lot of us, myself included, like going down esoteric avenues of musical exploration. But it's easy to scoff at or overlook some like greatest hits, so to speak. And I don't mean like as in a compilation album, but I mean greatest hits as in the ubiquitous bands we all know and love or once loved. This Boston, I think, is their best, and it got overplayed so much on classic rock radio that I think there's some resentment attached to it. But also, I do think there is a drop-off, in my opinion, from this and their latter works, and they didn't have this massive, huge, expansive catalog like a Neil Young or Pink Floyd or Grateful Dead or etc. So they're not lumped in with those bands that had this huge, long reign or huge catalog. But Boston debut... it's fantastic. The vocals are great. I mean, this is just classic rock music at its finest. That might be a little bit of a stretch. But anyways, I pulled that out to have a more commercial appeal record in the mix. The next record is, and this is one of the fun things I like about vinyl tag. You know, I think it's really easy to manipulate and twist it. Sometimes, like in the past, there's a jazz question, and maybe you omit jazz, or you omit a question, or you rework it around. I know, like Robert Fitton doesn't collect jazz, and he showed Jazz by Queen. So I think there's always like fun workarounds that you could do to use your creativity, your imagination, or just, problem solving. You got to use your deductive abilities occasionally in life. But the question for question 4 was a hat trick, vinyl, CD, and cassette. I don't own that. All right, well, one thing I do have, and I just have it lumped in an oversized sleeve to show it all at once. I love Berry Gordy's The Last Dragon. If you don't know what it is, it's kind of a post-blaxploitation Harlem-based kung fu movie starring Vanity, Prince's ex. But so we have the original vinyl record, my childhood cassette, and a DVD. So Berry Gordy's The Last Dragon, this movie is equally awful and awesome. If you didn't grow up with it, you might not appreciate it, but you 80s babies or 70s kids or even 90s childs that grew up with this in syndication, or maybe younger, maybe you're a Gen Zer and you watch this on TBS or TNT, whatever. I love this movie. I defend it fearlessly. Album that starts and ends with same letter. Now, I think this is meant just to really go through your collection. One of the things I like about Vinyl Tag is you're digging through everything you own to answer some of these questions. And I'm just failing. I'm flipping through hundreds of records. And then I look over my shoulder and I'm just like, man, what am I going to do? I'm just kind of thinking to myself. And I look at my box of stuff that's filed to be put away. The very front of the box is Smash Hits, Jimi Hendrix. So 2 sounds, same letter, Smash Hits. You get it. And I hope that you do get why I choose Jimi Hendrix. Do you need an excuse? Now, this is a beautiful Japanese pressing with the obi and all the booklets and all that mess. So here we go. The legend, which is Jimi Hendrix, is my album that starts and ends with the same letter. S is what I chose. The next question, born in the same year as you. Now, this year in April, I will be 40. So if you can't tell by this beard turning white, that although I am 39 years young, I'm getting older by the day. Just an old grizzled man. So I had to go with 1983. One of my favorite things about the 80s is vintage metal. And Dio does it for me. I freaking love Ronnie James Dio, 3'9" of just awesomeness. Holy Diver is pretty tough. This might be my favorite. Last in Line, I don't know, man. Those 80s Dio albums were pretty phenomenal, including I also am a staunch defender of Dio era Sabbath too. But Holy Diver, Dio, 1983, the year I was born. Most listened to album in 2022. Now, I've been purging out of the collection. Money was a little tight after this accident. I've got a job now and things are getting normal. But I funded a lot of new acquisitions this year by purging early stuff in my collection that just wasn't hidden, blind buys that didn't work, a couple doubles in the collection, yada, 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 right? But one thing I've been hoping for a repress for a long time, I guess that whole point was that since I've been acquiring so much new stuff, I've just been listening to a myriad of things, and I've been diving back into my collection. So there's not been one album that I bought and was just absolutely entrenched in. But I've been waiting for this one for a long time. I can't afford original. I don't know if I'd want to buy one even if I could afford it, to be quite frank with you. But when this got repressed, I heard about it initially through Dylan at Noble Records. And so I bought one from him directly. And so that's super dope. But this one and done psychedelic blues rocker is phenomenal. I think I played this 6 or 7 times before it left the turntable. So, and it returned to the turntable. So there's nothing I was just like entrenched in for weeks at a time. But this one definitely got multiple spins before it got re-sleeved. Super stoked that this came out this year. There's more represses coming out. I would say one of my... This would be if I was going to go for favorite release of 2022, it would be a re-release, or first ever large commercial release. I would say this would be one of your top need-to-buy albums from 2022. So, most listened to album to most listened to artist in 2022. Now, if I'm going to be frank, you know, I'll be Eric. I'm just going to be myself. So if I'm going to be Eric, I'll be stone cold serious with you. I was so amped and excited to see live music again. One of the reasons why it's such a disappointment when my friend got Smash House boozy and ruined the night. But I was so stoked to see live music again. I went down the King Gizzard wormhole once again in anticipation of seeing him live. So I pulled a live record to represent that. This is King Gizzard and Lizard Wizard live in San Francisco, 2016. So this is the band I listened to, or the artist I listened to most in 2022. Now, the next question, if I wanted to be a dork, I could go for another King Gizzard record. But the question for question number 9 is Australian artist or band. I went with The Birthday Party, post-punk, Junkyard, Australian band. So there we go. Phenomenal album cover, good music, super clean original. I can't believe how stupid clean this is. Every time I see it, I was super stoked. I found this in Asheville, actually, the last time I went to go see King Gizzard prior to this last time. And found this in Voltage Records, if I'm not mistaken. Surprising purchase of 2022. Okay, so the caveat to this, or the segue into it, is that I actually, this year, 2022, I would believe, is like the year of jazz in the vinyl community. Maybe there's a passing of the torch from jazz to audiophile presence. Everyone seemed to be super audiophilistic, if that's a word, this past year. But on account of that, jazz prices shot up. And then I respect the vinyl community, but so many people were so goo-goo gaga over jazz this past year. I didn't know whose opinion to trust anymore. Like, it just seemed like every re-release or everything that came out had like a certified seal of excellence on it. And I was just like, every jazz release can't be amazing. So I took a step back from jazz. I didn't want to pay the higher prices because it's commanding so much money right now. So I bought very little jazz this year, less than I have in years past. And now I'll still be on my jazz kick, but once it falls out of fashionability and they're back in the bins for cheaper, I'll grab it. And that kind of happened with this. This got a grandiose repress, Shades of Red. And so when that happens a lot of times, just the run-of-the-mill, whatever, okay for a bro like me represses end up in the bin. So someone bought the fancy schmancy repress of this, and then they probably purged this from their collection, and I was happy to grab it on the cheap. So one of the very few jazz collections, jazz records I copped this year, so that would be a surprise and purchase for me this year, is this jazz record. Excuse me, I got a scratch in my throat. Artist or band you're complete on. Now, if we're like trying to chop up semantics here, when you start getting into like 45s and live albums and everything, it's so hard for any of these bands that you really truly like, you know, if they have a large catalog, to be a completist on. So I got a quick one to be stupid here, because this is a one and done psychedelic masterpiece. That's how a lot of people brand it. I think it's pretty good. I don't think it's the masterpiece that some people tout it to, but I definitely say if you like things in the psychedelic realm, definitely check out Morgan. Happy for this repress. I'm not paying for an original, but this is a one and done band, so pretty easy to cheat and say I have their entire catalog. But if I'm being real, one artist that I have pretty much damn near everything. I mean, it's kind of stupid. Jack White. I never even worked this into the video, so the time is now. This is his most recent record, record store exclusive. I enjoy it. He dropped multiple albums this year. I'd be curious, people in the vinyl community, if you're a Jack White appreciator, what's your favorite, most recent endeavor from Jack White? But to kind of go further into my Jack White, I don't know if you called him session, but collecting, as far as like being a completist, I already own this completely, totally acceptable shrinky copy, this beautiful copy of White Blood Cells. I was fine on it. It's my whatever. It's my forever copy. So I thought. And then I was at Pharmacy Records here in town just recently, a couple weeks ago, and extremely fairly priced on the wall was one of the Vinyl Vault. If you could see here, for the White Blood Cells XX Roman numerals 20th anniversary. I didn't need to buy this, but did anyways. It's a sickness. I couldn't help myself. I got the collector bug in me. So I got all the accoutrements in a outer sleeve here to keep them, and then I don't need to pull out the white and red vinyl. I think you know what those colors look like. But here is the overly officious and unnecessary for my collection, but couldn't help but buy it anyways, copy of this album. Let me press pause for a second. Never mind, I got faked out there. I thought we were on the B side. There's just a long gap between tracks. Great run of 3 albums. Now, I'm going for a cliche. I guarantee you're going to see a lot of people show, you know, the Beatles and what have you. There's going to be a lot of a lot of Led Zeppelin, all those obviouses. Obviousnesses. That's Eric word. But so I went with a metal obvious choice. And now why I chose the Metallica run here, it's absolutely phenomenal. I don't care what anyone says. I still accept the Black Album. Don't really need it in my collection. I pretty much ignore everything after the Black Album. But this initial run, and the reason I picked this, Kill 'Em All, Ride the Lightning. The reason I picked this, I've never worked this into a video, but I had this in the collection on CD, and it was in the Mach 1 when I had the accident, and so you lose power and everything. It was in the dash, so I lost my CD copy of this. So I was like, I was due anyways to acquire it on vinyl. So Master of Puppets, absolutely phenomenal, but not just 3, but a run of 4. The first 4 Metallica albums, and even if you threw in Garage Days as well, the EP, and fuck it, Black Album too, just killer stuff. So Metallica on that run of 3 or more. 80s soundtrack. What's more 80s than a movie about a high school wrestler finding love with an older slut? And I'm not slut-shaming here. I'm just saying that's what the movie is. And forgive my language. But I had to acquire this. And also, what's so 80s about it? A not-so-famous yet Madonna having a cameo singing in this. So the big one here is Journey, Madonna, Crazy for You, and Gambler, Don Henley, Dio, Hungry for Heaven, another double dose of Dio, Foreigner, Sammy Hagar, Lunatic Fringe, Red Rider was the famous one on this, but a oh-so 80s soundtrack. I found this sealed at Lunchbox Records a couple years ago when I was going to go see, when I saw Maiden in concert. And so, yeah, does it get more 80s than that? We lost them in 2022. I don't know how much country's going to get represented in the vinyl community with vinyl tags, so Mickey Gilley, if you don't know, Mickey Gilley was the inspiration for the Urban Cowboy soundtrack. But revolved around him. You go further detail if you so care about Mickey Gilley or Urban Cowboy. That's neither here nor there. By the way, that movie did not age well. All sorts of spousal abuse in that movie. But Mickey Gilley, we lost him in 2022. Here's one thing, you got to be creative in the vinyl community. I actually flippy-flopped my 15 and 16 to make this work for me. So my question 15 is a non-vinyl purchase. That's at Captain Floor Records. They always have cassettes. So I grabbed some Ozzy, right? I'd never had this one. I was always aware with No Rest for the Wicked. This is the start of the Zakk Wylde era. But I was like, oh, okay, cool beans. Let me grab this. It was super cheap. And so I snagged this. Now, I've never done this in my entire life with a vinyl record or anything before in the past. But so that's my non-vinyl purchase, okay? But this is going to segue into question 16. Disappointing purchase in 2022. So I bought that cassette. Just several days later, I was taking my mom to Spartanburg. I'd never been to... she had cancer treatments. Everyone that knows me and has asked me about that, they're going very well. She's avoided chemotherapy. She did all her blood transfusions and injections and everything. Right now, she's avoiding chemo. Fingers crossed, things are, God willing, everything's going very well on that. But so when I was taking her there, I stopped it. I'd never been there before. I actually have a sticker here by happenstance. I went to BJ Music. Hey-o. So, and while I was there, I was kind of flipping through records, and I was rushed. Mom called me, and her appointment was over, just 2-3 miles away. I was like, oh, let me grab these 2 or 3 things I had in my hand. The guy had a gang of 80s cassettes. A lot of them I used to have back in the day, so nostalgia made me want to buy them. But then I was like, man, I own this on vinyl. Do I really need to double down? Do I need to own it on cassette too? Anyways, so I bought this. This is my regret, because I hadn't spun it yet. I didn't have it and own it. I didn't process it. The first time ever in my life, I bought something I already own. Maybe it's the alternate album cover, because this is, oh, people are going to appreciate this. This is digitally remastered. So, alternate cover. Double dose of Ozzy Osbourne. I own 2 copies of this now, so I guess de facto, that's how I ended up with something I regret purchase, or disappointing purchase in 2022. Your boy was a dumb dummy. Question 17. You found a grail. Anyone knows me knows that I collect surf and drag. I love it. It's kind of an obscure genre that everyone doesn't appreciate. Musically, this is not one of the gems in the collection. This is kind of a studio group, just kind of capitalizing on the explosion or the trend. But this is ultra rare. So this is the Zip Codes Mustang. I found this at a local store for $6. And now I knew it warranted some money. You know, I was thinking, oh man, $6? No way, man. This is what, $30, $40, $50 record? No. Look it up on Discogs. I hit a home run with this one. Super stoked. Like I say, I recently started Instagram. Just because why not waste more time on the internet with other record nerds? And this is one of the very first things I posted. So, the Zip Codes 1964 Mustang. Just my first ever. I can't believe I got it for that price. Knocked it out the park. Grand slam home run. Grail achieved. Space themed sleeve or song. Nah, man, I meant to research this. This is, I'm not mistaken, it's Dutch? I haven't listened to these in a while. I used to know more about them. I just enjoy them. These are 12-inch singles. And the vinyl tag isn't a competition, but I'm going to say I won. All right? I won it on this question right here. Proxion, we got Space Hopper. Not only is the name in the full effect there, but these electronic 80 weirdness dance singles are all space themed. So I got Space Hopper, Proxion. Another Proxion, Space Guards. That's just sci-fi weirdness goodness. As well as, right here, Space Warriors. Dope stuff. Super stoked to have this in the collection. Go for surprising money now. I got these a few years ago before the big vinyl explosion. And here we are. We're on the very last questions. So I'm not doing too bad. So my goal was to do this in one side of a record, and I came pretty close here. We're just onto the B-side. So show, VCLT, or present. George Borden, Rachel's Ghost. I was on a live stream. As mentioned, I needed a new stylus for my. I have a vintage Denon. I got it put together an old setup in my bedroom. I'm slowly posting the components on Instagram. I'll get to it eventually. But I told him I needed a new stylus. He sent me this Sumiko Moonstone. I'd never even met the guy. Super generous gift out the blue. I can't thank you enough. Awesome to be in the game with that. So stoked. Couldn't be happier. 20. Album turning 50 in 2023, or an album released in 1973. This is the last Suzuki album from the band Can, Krautrock Weirdness, Future Days. This is the first Can album I bought, so I have a soft spot for this. I don't know if it's my favorite, but it's phenomenal, and I do believe that Suzuki is my favorite singer of the singers of the band Can. But this is his last with the group. But once again, you guys take care, be well, Happy New Year. Cutting this off under 25 minutes is pretty impressive for a boy like me that rambles. Peace, rock on, take care.